basically. So again, when you have a child that all his images are images of greatness, but in a criminal aspect, then at some point, we that's what our heights of sports or entertainment. And still today, it's the same thing basically, except for the exception of that you have President Obama who had went in, which was a black man and a black woman, right? So definitely that has lifted the mental cap, I would say, in a way to where now it's like there's no limitation. But to be in that little box, man, one thing I realized today, because now that I'm out of the box, I can see things from a perspective that I couldn't see it when I was in the box. And it's that dudes in the street particularly, right? Guys in the streets are very, very sensitive. They wear their ego on their sleeve. That's why so many killings happen. Why so many shootings happen, because they're not, it's not to say any of these dudes like stupid or not intellectual. Yeah, they have a level of intellect. However, it's on a primitive level. It's only on a survival level. You feel what I'm saying? It's not from a position of love. When you look at love or equate love is equivalent to producing life. You know what I'm saying? Fostering life. Fostering unity, fostering brotherhood, fostering sisterhood. That's not the level. Pardon me. Yeah, it's not the level. It's not the level that. I'm sorry. So it's not the level that. That is needed. Let me just. I don't know how long I thought that kind of threw me out, but pardon me again. It's living up on a survival mode. You only. Everything is really instinctive. You live under pressure. So it's all about fulfilling what you need. And here's the crazy thing about it. When you live in the streets and you acquire all these types of addictions, like from hard drugs to, I guess, so-called soft drugs like weed or whatever, to alcohol, sex, that's like really the cycle. Food, entertainment, all those things become... although their desires, a desire can reach a point of a need once it's, I guess once it's at a certain level, right, of influence. And so after you've taken care of some needs like food and water, sometimes those things come into play. Sometimes those things even overlap those things, right? It overlaps taking care of paying, making sure the lights is on, making sure water's still running sometimes, And so, in a way, it just, what I'm getting to is that living on survival mode, it doesn't necessarily allow a person to ever exercise or exist in a creative fear, in a creative state of being, which is our God-like self. Our mental, our intellectual self, definitely, but living on a primitive level is our animal self. Living on a survival level is our animal self. That when we say a dog-eat-dog world, that's living on survival level. But when we get beyond that and start living on a level of love and unity and so on, right, that I just mentioned, then we're living more in our God-like self and our creative self. You know what I'm saying? We having time to really sit back and think and create. That's why when people get to having money and they get to producing all these different products and all these different ways of making money, they're able to create and create and create because the pressure of having to meet just what you call it, like minimal needs. That pressure has been lifted, and so you can live in a higher level. And the only crazy thing about that is that if that higher level is controlled and you're pressured and you're like guided still to exist in a way that where you're still living like almost like a higher level, but on a satanic level in a sense. Because I believe even on a higher level, you have a satanic state of mind, you have a God-like state of mind. on this higher level, because even the concept of ideal of Satan is beyond the primitive level, the animal level. The concept of Satan is a very intellectual being. He's very seductive, and to seduce anything, you got to be very creative and very intellectual. You dig what I'm saying? So the concept of Satan is a very intellectual, very lofty, very haughty, very exquisite being. And it's nothing primitive or animalistic about that, other than the fact that he understands the animal nature very well. And so, anyway, man, to answer the question, it's taking me a minute, but it's so much on that, man, that I really want people to understand is that there's a lot of mental and emotional, say called mental health, like where there's like a person is not mentally well as a result of all these different traumas. Well, a lot of us aren't even emotionally well as a result of a lot of traumas that we grew up under, and some of us, even like the so-called real intellectual, those of us who live in with so-called, middle class and all that, living, the women who living in corporate America, and I mean, even the men living in corporate America, I mean, people who are just even so-called looking like their life is together. Even these individuals' lives is messed up too. I mean, on an emotional and intellectual level, they're fragile. Do you know what I'm saying? They're really fragile. We're really fragile to the point to where it doesn't take much to have the average person on some other stuff, like on some straight up craziness, doing things, saying things that isn't conducive towards their overall objective, towards what they work for, towards what they value, towards what they want in life. I mean, that's because of that fragileness, that hurt, that pain, all these issues that have never really truly been unpacked and dealt with. We walk around with it and we just cover stuff up and pour stuff on top of it, like entertainment, like taking trips, vacations, having fun, enjoying life. We try to cover all this damage up with this. Once we get money, we just cover all that damage up with that. So therefore, we can still have money, but that's why you have people who got money, who are multimillionaires and billionaires, but they still not happy. They still depressed. They still alcoholics. They still drug addicts. They still sex addicts. They still sociopaths, and so on and so forth, because they haven't never still dealt with the traumas, the emotional and mental traumas that they experienced as a young person. And many of these things happen to us in our adolescent, toddler years. In our very young years, these things happen to us from the ones that's closest to us, family, mothers, fathers, uncles. I mean, all these people that's the closest to us. Like I always tell people, the people that's closest to you are the ones that can hurt you the most, because they're the ones that are in a position to hurt you the most. So, until we all begin to really take a vested interest in unpacking this stuff, I mean, we're going to continue to hurt each other. We're going to continue to be divided. We're going to continue to strive just for self and be selfish. We're going to continue to operate from a very selfish and animalistic position until we start unpacking these things. And during the time I was incarcerated, I will say that I used that as a blessing and as a benefit for me in my life, because I grew from that situation. I am the man who I am today, and the man I'm constantly evolving into as a result of me going through that very tumultuous and high-pressured situation, and so I'm grateful and I'm blessed, because one thing I do understand too is that most of your growth happens under hardship, under distress, and it happens, but it also matters a lot how we deal with it and how we go through that moment, through those times, and how when we come out of it, are we better, are we healthier, or we just still doing what we've always done. We get through it and we cover it up by trying to have fun, by trying to experience as much gratification as possible. You know, I'm very real. I'm very real. When I say real, I'm a very realistic person. So, you know, I'm not like Tony Robbins said. That's one of my mentors. I'm not a motivational speaker. I mean, I can motivate you, but that's not my thing. I'm not here to gas you up, and that's what a motivational speaker is. They're going to gas you up. The thing about it is, you got to stay gassed up to even be able to amount to what the motivation was meant to gas you up to do, and to be able to succeed. What I strive to do, what Tony Robbins strives to do, is to equip you with the things that are necessary to where you can live every day the kind of lifestyle you want to live. You know, from the inner, to reconstruct you in the inner, to reconstruct you in here first. That way, everything outside of you begin to manifest that healing and that beauty inside. It's like we can't become a better people socially until we become a better person individually. You know, and so that's what Enlightenment Minds Enterprise is about. The improvement of the healing, the personal healing, and the health, the social health of us all, by healing us personally, but by helping us recognize as many of our unhealthy, selfish inclinations that we have. You know, and so that selfish place is not how the higher being operates. It's not how the God like us operates. You know, that selfish position, that's animalistic.